Welcome to the City of South Bend, Washington. This City Council budget workshop was held on November 20th, 2024.
We'll call the meeting to order. This is a budget workshop, so we're going to go over the changes that were made since our last budget workshop. We'll start with the revenues. And if you see in the right-hand margin is what the original budget was. And then it's been changed to reflect that change in the actual budget 2025 column. So the first one that changed was the comprehensive plan, and it went from $100,000 to $80,000. And that's because some of it's been spent already, and it changed on the expense side too. So that actually didn't change anything overall in the budget. And then the next one, that just is a reflection of the total from that. So then we go to page 3 in the STP repair and maintenance. We had 104.7 there, and it went down to 34.9 because that's what's actually coming in 2025. The other money is already accounted for elsewhere because it's already here. It's not coming in next year. It's already here. From 2 years, we've saved that money. So then that total was changed. Operating transfers in. This is the library, went from 13,000 to 11,500 because that's all the expenditures that were budgeted for the library. And then, so that changed the fund total there as well. So then we go down to operating transfers in,
that's parks.
Parks, yes. From 100,000 down to 42,994 because we removed the parks lead. And then, so that changed that.
What is that parks lead? What's that mean?
Jerry went back to the regular crew instead of paying.
Crew, so
Yeah. So he's back on the regular.
Okay, so the question I have is that we had a separate amount for him in the parks, but our regular crew, nothing changed in the amount of wage that we're paying out because he just moved back to the crew, but nothing changed.
What changed is the department it's going to.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So what I'm saying
yeah.
is that the parks department, it went down from his wage, but it just gets transferred over to the city crew, right?
and
Yes.
he's not a lead man.
And he's no longer lead. He's just
So
a
it's
regular.
a
crew, so
regular
it
wage. He
reduced-
doesn't get a
Yeah.
reduced wage.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
and White is on his way.
Oh, okay.
He forgot.
So then page 4, the excise tax, went up to 45 from 40. And so the total changed as well. And then water sales went up as well because of the increase that we're going to do. So that changed the fund total from 2258 to 2369.
I was gonna ask, when you take money out of reserves, where did the reserves come from?
It comes out of fund balance.
So like the water reserves are,
They're in the investments, but it's included in the beginning fund balance.
okay,
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that just changed the grand total. So that was all the changes on the revenue side. So then on the expenditure side, page 2 of the expenditures, this is under the police. Uniforms went from 5,000 to 4,000 because we have one less employee. Operating supplies went from 10 to 8. Fuel went from 20 to 18. And then this one actually, this is the new number in yellow here, the 33,328, because PATCOM decided that they would only put in one new dispatcher instead of 2. So the county changed that number after we had already created this. So that reduces it by almost 6,000. So, and then repair and maintenance equipment went from 25 down to 15. He felt like we could do that. Is that fire? That's fire, isn't it?
That's fire, yes.
Yeah, that's fire. So, and that brought that total from 856 down to 841. So, And then the comp plan, here's the comp
Yeah.
plan change that was reflected on the beginning. So then we go, that's again, the total on page 3. Then we go to the library. It was 53,000, now it's 51,500. And that's that transfer amount that you saw that reduced in the revenues by 1,500. We're on page 3 of 7 on the expenditures. So then again, the parks change from 100,000 to 42,994 for the transfer. And then the total is 379,500 and it had been 329,994. And then we go down to streets and contracted maintenance labor went from 22,000 down to 10. Which then reduced that total amount by that much as well. And then we go to page 5. And we corrected the mistake that was just a decimal error.
Yeah.
There was an extra 0 in there from 35,000 to 3,500. And that changed the water. So then on page 6, that's just the total has changed. And then we go down to sewer and maintenance and operations. We increased that from 315 to 350. Because we're already at 292 and there's a couple more months in there. So we didn't figure, last year we did 348. We didn't figure that was quite right. So we adjusted that and that adjusted that total in sewer.
Did you increase the dues for the EDC?
Not yet. That came after this was done as well. So that has not been included.
And has that officially happened?
I haven't seen a billing yet. But
I mean,
that,
but
that
it was
would
voted
change.
in at that meeting?
I was not able to be at that meeting. I wasn't there. So I don't know.
Yeah, I was just wondering.
Yeah, yeah. And there, it's still up in the air. They talked about possibly, maybe doing scholarships for those cities that were under hardship for this year. And so we may be able to get that. I'm not quite sure how that's gonna fall out. Anyway, and that changed the fund total on page 7. And then capital outlay vehicles went from 15,000 down to 0 for mosquitoes. We're not gonna spend that money. There's no sense in having it in the budget. And that brought that, reduced that down as well. And then, so that is all the changes that were made. So what that did, that brought us to, with the in current expense, it left us with a balance of 14,900. And then by the time you transfer the streets amount, which is also current expense of a negative 101,528, that brought us to a negative 86,628. And then when you take that,
Well, it was in your package, but I say.
Here, just go
Here, I
ahead.
can make it.
you got one? Okay. So that will, that
It
brings
was
us,
in the other pack. There was
Yeah,
2
we have it.
packets.
do
that
you
were sent
have,
out to-
I didn't.
you have a copy to make copies with?
Yeah, I'd take a copy too, since we're.
So anyway, that brings us down to a negative 86,628 in current expense. And we had talked about, you know, streets, the auto seal project, the match is 100,000. We talked about using the HUD fund for that. So my suggestion, and this is all stuff we were gonna talk about Monday at our council meeting. I just plan to do all of this at our council meeting Monday, and it's fine, we're doing it tonight. Was to pull all of the HUD fund over, because if you only take 100,000 out of here, that only leaves us 14,000 to the good, and we're still spending all of our beginning cash balance, just about like 150,000, and it leaves us with almost nothing for an ending fund balance, and I don't think that's wise. So the thought is, this was my thinking anyway, that I was gonna run past you guys on Monday, is to use the HUD fund and just sweep it into current expense, which will bolster that and give us an ending fund balance at the end of the year. But my question to you was going to be, do we just sweep it? Do we do a loan to the HUD fund from current expense, or a loan to current expense from the HUD fund and then pay it back over time? I'm not quite sure what we want to do there, you know, because this is our fund to go to when we're in trouble. Typically, yes, we are in trouble. And that's my solution to get us through 2025.
If we don't have anything else.
But
come
that
up.
does nothing to help us through 2026. And I don't see this situation changing for 2026. There's not enough money coming in for what we have going on. So we've had discussions, and it's not a secret because I brought it up here too. Potentially, the chief is really wanting to run a public safety levy. And that would be in August. And if the levy passes, that will bolster us enough to get us through probably next year and however long that levy goes on. And it would have to be renewed every 2 or 3 years, I believe.
Yeah, I think you could go out, if I remember correctly, there's been so many different discussions about things. I want to say like 5 years, I think, but what we had talked about, and with Luke being gone, I don't,
Yeah.
I thought he said he would run it, like, it would be like for 2 years, like every 2 years or something. So
That's pretty typical, 2 to 3 years
yeah,
is what I remember
the
most
one-
of them running.
that's what, the ones that we have looked at have been like 2 to 3 years.
Does that get
So-
paid through property taxes?
It
or-
does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
What's the percentage? You get to just pick whatever or?
No, you would go, he's been talking, so you have to reach out to like the auditor's office, the assessor's office, and it's like a percentage per, just like with like the hospital or whatever. And you kind of have to know like what you're wanting. So, but Luke had done that and I don't know what.
Well, and it's pretty
response time.
preliminary right now as
Yeah.
far as what the numbers are actually gonna look like.
So,
And that's, let me finish here. That's if the levy passes.
Right.
If the levy does not pass, then my solution going forward, is, and I've already talked with Raymond a little bit about it, is having a backup plan in place to perhaps merge or contract with Raymond for policing. Because I don't think we can afford more than a 3-man department, which is unworkable for the guys on the police crew. That's the other solution that I can think of, unless you guys can think of something else. The police department is 50% of our operating for
Right.
current expense.
most all
And-
cities are
Well,
like,
I would say
Yeah.
one thing with that police department that we do somewhat have some control of is overtime. Have we put any thoughts towards freezing overtime?
Yes, yes, and he has rearranged schedule so that Tuesday shift that was overtime every week is no longer being used.
Yeah.
They've rearranged things when people are on vacation. He's rearranged things to where they're working 5/8 instead of 4/10s, and he's
So,
been
I think
making a
that's something
bigger.
that we gotta look
Now,
at.
we will have overtime for holidays. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
You
There-
can't avoid
Right.
that.
There will
So-
always be some, but he has
Yeah.
Right.
cut it to,
But I think in all
Labor Day,
departments, we
different
really
things.
gotta put the freeze on overtime at this
Yeah.
point and just say, hey, we're gonna do what we can now. If we have a pipeline that blows and we have to manage it in the middle of the night, obviously
Yeah.
we do, but
Yeah,
but all overtime should have to be approved before it goes. It's not just,
Yeah.
hey,
And it-
you wanna work today.
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
We
it's
really gotta
been-
Take into consideration why
Yeah.
we're doing it.
and he has. I will say he has.
Okay.
He's made a big difference in the last couple months on that.
so my only fear about the police department thing, it's pretty tough when you turn something over to another city
Mhm,
and expect to get the best of the best out of it, because
mhm.
typically you don't.
It would be a different level of service,
Major,
and we're very aware of that. And the question in the levy to the people would be basically, do you want to keep policing in South Bend? That, and people can choose at that point, on the
There,
levy.
there would be police, it just wouldn't be.
No, but I mean, a South Bend Police Department versus a contract situation or a merged situation, however it might be. I don't know another answer. We have a lot of time to think about it and a lot of time to work on it.
Time passes so fast.
I know, and that's why before we get into a levy situation, we need to have something drawn up and know what it looks like, because if the levy does not pass and we wind up going that route, there isn't time to put it together before 2026.
No, you,
It's gonna take time to work through it and to come up with a workable solution that both cities are happy with. It's not gonna be a quick process.
No.
So when I spoke with the Raymond mayor, I said, I'd like to start working on this in January. And that's, like I said, we were gonna talk about this Monday anyway, at our council meeting. We're talking about it now. But that's the suggestion that I have. That doesn't mean it can be the only one.
Right.
And maybe we'll come up with something different, but I don't, in my own mind, that's the only answer I can see. But that doesn't mean it is the only answer.
so on your, say if it doesn't, none of this works out,
Mhm.
then your only other alternative is to either lay someone off in a department or cut hours, whatever, to try to
It has
balance.
to be current expense.
So, well, yeah, which is.
Which is not public works. So it has to be,
Well, and
Police
it's parks
or-
and streets, so, yeah, I mean,
but
they are paid out of current expense too.
Exactly.
Public Works is not
Yes.
solely
Yes.
funded out of current expense,
no,
but there are
but the
departments
majority
funded out
of
of.
it is.
Right.
Yeah,
The majority of it.
but we can't say that none of Public Works is.
No,
Because
no,
they're
I
not.
guess what I mean
Yeah.
is the only people that are solely paid out of current expense are the police department, the court, which even the court is a little bit different.
Mhm.
Even part of the secretaries are water sewer because of the billing.
Fire department.
In the fire.
And fire department, yeah, it's very limited what we can do to cut. Outside of public safety.
So at the end of 2025,
Mm-hmm.
we will only have like $50,000
In what?
in, for 2026 beginning cash. Right?
If you take the 239,
Yeah, and
And
so from the, and then
it would be
86.
239 minus 86 is what, 150?
Oh, 100,
roughly.
Yeah, 100.
About
Yeah.
150,000, yeah.
Oh,
And
that-
we're starting at 163, we think. That's a guesstimate.
And we don't know what's gonna happen next year, that we have to
No, we
dip
don't.
into the funds.
No, we don't. And I know typically we don't spend everything that's budgeted. Although we have a pretty lean budget this year, but typically we don't spend everything that is budgeted.
So you're wanting to take all the money out of HUD.
Yes,
It can be a loan also.
yes, the question is to take it or to do a loan from current expense into the HUD. And then pay it back over time. And you usually do that at like, a nominal interest. I think it's like 0.5% or
Yeah, it's
something like
really
that. It's a small amount.
So if you're on that kind of budget, how do you pay it back?
Yeah, exactly. my
Well,
question.
Yeah, that is the conundrum. So,
So.
But
My,
if you have a levy that goes into place too
Right.
at that time,
If it-
then that,
yeah.
yeah.
And I will
mean,
say, and this is one contract between two cities. And I'm not even gonna name the cities. But there is a city that is contracting with another city for their policing. And they're paying 294,000 in 24.
That's El Waco and Long Beach.
Well, I didn't want to say that publicly.
Well, everybody knows that.
We know that, but the public doesn't know that, and this is a
Oh, how
public
much it
meeting.
is. Oh,
Yeah,
but
this
everybody
is a
knows that
public
El
meeting.
Waco.
Well, but it
Yeah.
could have been anywhere in the state, and
But-
I just didn't
but
want
that's the thing,
throw that on the
Public
record.
record.
that's the thing that I'm suggesting is if we're going through with this and we're gonna put that out there, to try to get funds. This other thing has to be completely finished to where we're gonna be if that fails.
That's right.
I
Right,
mean,
That's the
completely,
plan. That's
completely
why I
finished
want to start
because-
working on it in January.
and that's what we've all
Yeah.
talked, I mean, Luke
Yeah.
is part of that conversation
Yeah.
too. We've
Yes.
talked about that. That's where we have to put both of these things into place and see which way we have to go.
Yeah,
How do you think people will respond to a public safety levy?
I think,
I
people-
have no
I think
idea.
people would pass it and soften,
yeah, I don't know. It just depends
but
on what
I
they
don't
want.
know.
You know, I honestly don't know which way it's gonna go. I don't think. I mean, I've been fooled before.
Yeah.
Well, it's just, it's hard to say where we're gonna be next August.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't, they don't
Could-
fail,
Things could be way worse.
school levies don't fail, ambulance levies
Oh,
don't
so
fail.
that's a Willapa Valley.
No, I'm saying the South Bend, I'm not
Oh,
talking about
okay.
Yeah,
Willapa
they
Valley.
generally don't.
Yeah,
you know, and
generally
if
here,
people
we've always passed them
seriously-
here.
Seriously wanna keep a
Yeah.
police department and the level of policing that they currently have, that's what it's gonna take.
Mhm.
Because short of that, I don't see how we can afford it.
But, you know, too, I mean, I can say, yeah, I think the people of South Bend would pass fund, but I also don't yet know what it's gonna cost them. And
Right.
Right.
that's a
and-
factor too,
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
but I really feel like that they like the service and what they get from their police department now, and I just feel like our community would say that they still want that. But again, it all comes down to how much it's gonna cost too, and so we don't know that yet.
Yeah.
So you're talking about with that levy trying to pass it so that it would completely fund the police department?
No, not
No.
completely, no, what we need in order to support one. I mean, we can pay a certain amount ourselves, and then we'll need a levy in order to. That's the other part that we have to determine,
Well-
we don't know how much we actually need.
And I think,
You know.
and I think that if that is the case, and if you want to run that levy, I think that levy should be high enough that we can build up an income reserve in the city, because it's not worth going after it to just medians, because then if something happens, you're right back in the same boat.
Right,
So I think that if you're gonna run a levy, you gotta put the numbers up there high enough that there's enough revenue kept in the city to cover everything from here on out.
Well,
That's,
We have to look at exactly like when you run it, like, I'm sure there's restrictions on it, so I don't know like exactly, it's been a minute since we've looked at the stuff because Luke's been gone and I've been working on other stuff, so. Like, you know, I don't know that you could just you can't run a public safety levy and then
And
use
use
the
it
money
for
for
other
something
stuff.
else.
No, it
So,
would be.
no, I know, and I understand that, but we have to know what there's restrictions on it, just like anything, so.
right, right.
We'd have to know
Right.
what those are and have to follow that too, but I agree, like, it could be like the reserve for that fund, you know. But, I don't know what, like, the whole
I don't,
restrictions and boundaries and stuff are.
I don't
with
think there
it.
would be an argument in the fact of the citizens looking at it if you put it out there and you say simply that, you know, we gotta cover our expenses
Right,
and we have to have reserve, because who knows if something's gonna happen and something's gonna break down or something's gonna, you know, equipment's expensive, you know,
Yeah.
and it doesn't take much.
yeah,
You know, you have a fire truck go kaputs on you and you gotta buy a fire, I mean, it's expensive.
it is.
So, I mean,
Yeah,
there has to be reserve funds built up, and right now we have no reserve funds.
exactly,
And we have to have. If you don't have reserve funds in the city, you're in trouble.
yeah,
And so right now, we're in trouble. So
Yeah.
that's all I'm saying is that you, and Zoe's right. I don't know all the parameters to it, but
Yeah,
when you look into it, I would go for what I could get. But
Mhm.
the most that you can go for, that's what I would put it out there for.
mhm,
Because we have to build up a reserve in this city.
yeah.
We have to.
Yeah. Well, and that's why it doesn't worry me if we borrow money from the HUD fund, because if the levy passes, we'll be able to pay some of that back. If the levy doesn't pass, then we won't be paying as much to Raymond, and we'll have somewhere we can pay that back over time.
Right.
So
Nope.
either way, we should be able to pay that back.
that's why I think the loan option would be good to
Yeah.
do it that way.
Yeah,
You think it would be good?
I do.
Well, it looks better to the
Okay.
public, you know,
Yeah.
oh, look, they got this money and they spent it. The other
Okay.
thing I could say is that, and I hate to say it, but the police need to quit going to Raymond and everywhere else all the time, because
Mhm.
people see that and they're like, you know, why are they dealing with a DUI on Highway 6? You know, or, you know, a murder in Menlo, when they say they're, you know, short-staffed.
Well, there's mutual assist that we do for the cities.
Yeah, but we're out more than they're in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
anymore,
it's
you
a
gotta have,
hard
you
call.
gotta have mutual aid to make things operate, even, you
Yeah.
know, even our fire departments, if it wasn't for mutual aid, we'd be in a hurt.
Boy, would we.
Yeah, no, I know, but that's just what, you know,
Yeah,
people
firsthand.
say is,
Yeah.
oh, why
Yeah.
are they out on Highway
Yeah.
6 when some drunk lady or not Highway 6, but 101, you know, and,
Yeah.
anyway, that's just what I hear,
Mm-hmm.
so.
So anyway, that's kind of where we are.
Do we need to wait for our regular meeting to make a motion to do that, or do you even need a motion to do that?
Yeah, we can't make decisions
budget-
in the workshop. It's
That's
just a
right.
workshop.
So it's just,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
so we'll wait.
why I was gonna do it in our
Okay,
other meeting,
that's fine.
because I didn't think it would take that long.
Yeah,
So, but I will be up in SeaTac and I'll be zooming in for this
So
meeting.
one more question, this water fund, which is the beginning cash,
Mhm.
where did that cash come from?
It's in the investments.
So it's not actual cash we have.
No, it is. It's in the bond market though. It's in our investments.
And
But
where,
it has to be
and,
reflected in our.
right, but
financials.
where did that money come from?
That was from the timber sales
sales.
over at the water
Okay.
reservoir area. Yeah, and that's why it has to be spent, the majority of it has to be spent for water. There was some sewer, and then this HUD fund is in there too. So,
I think that's a good idea to borrow it from the HUD fund.
Yeah, I definitely think we should borrow it,
Yeah,
not transfer it.
I think that's a good
Okay.
idea.
and the bond that matures is actually a $300,000 bond. So the 239 would,
well, I think it's like 290 or something.
oh, okay.
It's less than 300.
Oh, is it?
It's-
Okay,
yeah.
but it's close to. 300.
Yeah, it was,
So the
yeah.
balance
There's
would-
two
would
coming,
come at-
one's
would
coming
come
in
from the
January, and one's
water.
coming in February.
Yeah, we would keep
Okay.
all of that, whatever it is, in the cash account. And part of it would be attributed to water, and then that 239 would be attributed to the HUD,
So how much do we plan to borrow?
the 239.
You know, borrow the full amount?
Mhm.
Plus,
Do
well,
you
we
have
tried.
to borrow the full amount?
Well, we're gonna need it.
Well, that's almost crazy to take the whole amount.
I thought we were just 86 short.
That leaves us at zero. That leaves us at zero at
To
the
me,
end of the year.
To me, it makes sense to borrow the amount that you know you're gonna have to operate on, leave the rest of it alone.
That's why we want the whole thing, Wyatt. If you look at this at
You're not
86,
300,000 in the negative.
yes, we are. You take 86 and you take that from, that leaves 150, and we're starting with 163, and that brings us to zero.
If you're 300,000 in the negative, we need to go back and start chiseling things off.
No, what I'm looking at, we're at minus 86, plus we spent the full beginning cash of 163,845. So that's, that's the whole HUD fund. That's to bring us, the 86 brings us to zero at the end of the year, which means we've still spent $163,000.
Mhm.
So we do need it all in order to have an ending fund balance.
What's the, yeah. It's just crazy, because that just means next year you're in the same boat where you're gonna come up with another 300,000 next
Well,
year.
that's why we're
That's
looking
why
at
we're
the
talking
levy
about
or
the
the
levy
Raymond.
or
Yeah.
going with Raymond, because we don't have a choice. We have to do something
At-
that's
at
gonna
this
make a
point, I would say
significant
that-
difference.
That street project needs to be put on hold then.
I don't know that you can,
Why can't you?
because you agreed to already sign the contract.
I'd look into it and see if we can get out of it.
We couldn't with the library
Yeah.
one, so I would say that we can't.
And that's why we brought it to you.
Well, to
when
say we
did.
can't and can't are two different things. We'd need to look into it, find out what our options are.
Mhm.
Because if we don't have the money, there's no point in spending the money. If
So you're gonna-
if we
you're
were,
gonna
if I
give up-
knew we were in that kind of shape for money, I would have never voted to go ahead and move forward
So
with
you're
those
gonna
streets.
give up $2 million for lack of 100,000?
Yeah, I would at this point.
I don't think I would.
You're spending money you don't have.
We do have it. That's the thing. You just have to take it from the.
You're
HUD
robbing
fund.
Peter to pay Paul is what you guys are doing. This is an endless cycle.
It isn't endless if we either pass the levy or merge with Raymond. That's the only thing I can see. I mean, I understand what you're saying and what you're thinking, but
I mean, you really gotta look at this thing and pick apart every expenditure you can.
They have,
Yeah, and we
We
have,
still got restrooms down at the boat launch for $5,000 a year. Why do we have it if we don't have the money? Got the service.
Are we still paying for the one at the end of the trail too?
If I don't have money at the end of the month for my bills, I gotta start picking which bills I'm gonna eliminate. Either shut off the TV or whatever. I'm gonna keep my lights, I'm gonna keep my water, but I might have to shut my TV or my internet off. We gotta do the same thing here. We gotta decide what priorities are.
yeah,
We can't just keep spending money that we don't have. I mean,
so do
$5,000
you
is
want
$5,000,
to,
man.
do you want to eliminate the fees at the boat launch that come in from the camping and stuff then?
I'm not saying eliminate the fees.
Well, you
But
can't
we're-
charge camping if you don't have a restroom for folks.
Well, do we make, how much do we make on the camping each year?
I couldn't tell you.
$800.
Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna make
But the
$800 to spend 5,000? That
And
doesn't
the
make no
boat
sense
launch,
either.
the boat launch fees go into that as well, because they also use the restroom down there. And I'm sure over the course of a year, we bring in more than 5,000 down there.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
have to check into that to be sure. I don't know exactly what
Yeah,
it
the
is.
boat launch fee is right here, yeah,
How much was it?
right, and 24, let's see. 6,829.84.
That you brought in?
Yeah,
Oh,
So
wow.
it pays for the
So-
restrooms.
yeah, it does.
No, I mean, we do the garbage servicing each year, which is a nice perk for the people, but if we don't have the money.
And they have to get rid of.
Right, and
We
we
don't have
won't,
money,
and we,
right?
in the spring, we don't have to
We
do
do
that.
have to have a spring
So we
cleanup.
don't have to
Well,
do
you may
that.
have to get rid of the mosquitoes too. Not get rid
Well,
of.
we
them.
get
That pays
tax-
for
that
itself.
gets-
That's a special
and
tax on the
that's tax.
utility bills for that. And the people voted to do
That
that.
covers it.
It has covered it. We're
Mhm.
gonna have to look at increasing it because this next year it may
It has
fall a
gone,
little
it should have
short.
gone up,
Let's
yeah.
see, that's
Yeah.
probably, everything's getting increased, then we got the
Right.
hospital levy, you know, and people are just, I don't think they're gonna pay for a public safety levy, it's just too.
Well,
it's just
then we
too
have to
much.
merge with Raymond probably. That, I mean, that.
But
would
we
be
have to
the
let the
other
people, I
option.
think we need to take it to
Well,
the
sure.
people.
We need to let the folks decide. It's their city.
But that's the thing too, is like, you know,
How much it costs to
everything,
run the levy.
it depends on how much things are on the ballot. That's why you'd want to run it in August, because it's split between everything that's
That's
run.
when all of our seats come up, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
less when there's more things.
And on here it says that it costs us $5,500 to take care of Mary Rogers Park.
Yep, that's the restrooms, the paper towels and all of that stuff over there.
It probably doesn't cost $5,500.
I surely wouldn't think so.
You know, mowing the lawn, they take out the wages for,
Mhm.
you know, cutting the
Mhm.
grass.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's hard to pinpoint it all because it's, you know, it's not clear,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
There was something we were talking about before that, and I can't remember, and I lost it.
I think a levy is certainly worth trying, definitely.
I don't see any way that we could make a move like merging with Raymond or contracting with Raymond without letting the people decide that.
And I'm for
I think
taking,
we would have a riot on our hands if we didn't let them decide that.
I'm for taking out the entire PUD as a loan, because we can't start out with zero cash.
Well, that's what we end with,
Yeah,
is zero. Yeah. If we spent everything that was budgeted. So. Yeah, something's gotta give, because we have been on an austerity diet around the city for 2 years now, and we still can't make it work. And the guys have been cutting. And deferring projects and different things that they'd like to do that should be done, that can't be done because you can't afford them.
Yeah, it's the beginning of the decline,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know.
how many of these projects that are listed to be a potential expenditure could be put on hold?
What are you talking about?
Any of your future projects for 2025?
Well, there's some that we
Where are
don't
you
know
looking?
that are awarded yet, right?
Yeah, December 5th is when some of them we'll know if they.
What
were
page
able
are
to
you
work.
on,
In
Wyatt?
streets, right, Wyatt?
Yeah.
In expenditures,
Cause I mean.
so page
but
3.
when you look at your revenue, you can't change your revenue, but the only thing that we can change is our expenditures.
Yeah.
So we've gotta look at the expenditures and see what possibilities of things could possibly be put on hold. I hate to put things on hold, but if you don't have the money, you don't have the
The
money.
thing is, it isn't just putting them on hold. It means you don't get to do them. You'd have
I
to
realize
reapply.
that, but
Yeah,
when you don't have the money to do them, you don't have the money to do them.
well, and you have to remember the capital outlay streets. We have, 104,000, is it, Zoe, in PCOG money that pays for that.
Right.
All we're short for projects is that 100,000 auto seal.
Mhm.
We already have the money given to us that has to be spent for projects
Okay.
like that
So
from the county.
All the other projects that are listed here are accounted for and
Yes,
they're not costing us a single penny?
no, because we got money from the county for it,
Okay.
and it has to be spent for projects.
So
Now, now what could happen is we don't get the grant for a couple of those, and some of that money could go toward the auto seal.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the auto seal is important because
Oh, it is,
the
but
streets are awful.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity to make them good for, I don't know, 10 years or something. I don't know what's the longevity of it?
Yeah.
But it's gonna be hard to go ask people for money, you know, if they're in a pothole,
Mhm.
you know, it's been there for 5 years. You know, without
Yeah.
trying to make something good.
Mm-hmm.
Chen's is open again, so we'll have a little more money in the,
Hotel.
are we supposed to be parting with some of the hotel tax money? I see where Raymond, you can apply for the, hotel motel.
Yeah, they
Sales
do
tax.
that. You can also use it for parks, and that's what we choose to do with ours,
Oh, okay.
is to use it toward parks. Mhm. And that's a legitimate use under ours. I think it's RCW or
it's like
WAC
a-
or something.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anyway,
our hotel
yeah.
motel goes to parks.
Yeah.
so this comp plan at 80,000, that's a grant?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How's the fire department looking, Wyatt, for equipment and stuff? Are they,
Well, we're definitely aging, but I mean, we're not in dire straits by any means, but I think our biggest thing there is keeping packs, current.
Yeah.
But as far as trucks, I mean, we don't get the miles that big cities get, so.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, we got an aging fleet, but we definitely don't put the miles on them like everybody else does, so we can get a little longer out of our stuff than the average department does, but. The biggest thing is, the components that we have to keep up to date to stay legal is basically keeping those packs and keeping everything hose tested and stuff like that to be in compliance. We can't fall below our compliances,
Right.
but,
Which we've been doing.
yeah, I mean, it's tough,
Mhm.
so,
Mhm.
The fire equipment is expensive.
it is.
Everything is expensive.
Everything's expensive these days.
Yeah,
Well, and that's the other thing that has come up, is a regional fire authority. That would be down the road as well. That wouldn't be immediately. That would take a lot of effort to put together. But that's the other thing that's been talked about is all the local departments going into a regional authority, which then pulls that money, again, from property taxes, but it takes it away from the cities. So they aren't paying for that. It's coming out of property tax.
Yeah.
So
does that change the fire ratings we get?
it would make everyone the same. We'd all have the same fire.
Yeah, you'd be rated as one department, basically, is what you'd be rated
We're,
as.
we're really low now.
Mhm.
Phil just had someone come in and say, why did my fire insurance go up? And he said, well, your rating is at 8 now, out in
Mhm.
Valley,
Mhm.
you know, and I think we're at 4,
Yeah,
so.
no, I think we just went,
we went.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
four. We had
Went
been
to
a
a 4.
5 and now
Yeah,
we're
we
4.
went down to
Yeah,
4 a couple
yeah.
of years ago,
I had to
which
think
really
about
helps
that.
on, home insurance.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah,
But the district is different.
Yeah, district's different.
Yeah.
Did we just have a new rating for the fire
We
department?
did.
Yeah,
So it actually went down?
It went down.
So that's,
Went down one.
so is that good or bad?
It's
In the-
good.
Well,
Depending.
no, I mean,
No.
we went backwards.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
we
you-
did.
We went to a 5, didn't we? We had been a
We-
4 and now we're at a 5. Am I
We-
right? Or is it?
We were at a 5 and went to a 4.
Yeah, it's bad to go
Okay,
down.
it's bad to go down.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember which way the
So,
scale went.
I don't know how it works, but I know in the past, on your rating systems, they would give you like a 1-year reprieve on your score to get it back to where you were. I don't know if that's still,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
I think
know that.
it goes the other way.
Well, then whatever way it went.
We went down
We
one
went-
point.
We went
We
down,
went worse
we went
one.
worse one.
So we went up to 5. Cause the
I
higher,
think you're right, cause
the higher it
8
is.
is out there and that's bad. So,
Yeah, yeah, that guy-
Yeah, so we
So
were,
we went to
so we were
a 5
4 and went to
from
a
a
5.
4.
that
Yeah,
guy's doubled because of their rating.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
But there's a lot of factors that
Mm-hmm.
go into that. So when they look at that, they look how many units responded, how many units you have in your fleet. They look
Where
at
the fire
hose
hydrant
ratings,
is.
they look at, how
Yeah.
often you check your hydrants for flow rates and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
does it go a lot by your records as well?
Oh, yeah, everything's
Updated-
based on your training
Yeah,
records and all
updated
that
training
stuff, right?
records and
So
Yeah,
everything.
training
Equipment
records, the
Equipment
fire, safety,
Al hit it
inspection.
pretty hard that last rating that he went through, and he really made sure that all his P's and Q's were lined up,
Yeah.
and he done an exceptional job with it. I mean,
Yep.
it
That's when it
came
went to
came
4.
out really well, so,
Yeah.
but,
We got
yeah, a lot of that just depends on, I don't know. Different judge, different day, different outcome, right?
Right.
I mean, that's kind of the way some of that stuff is,
Yeah.
but it all depends on a point system there.
You know, you have to have a fire hydrant.
Some of it
Yeah.
can probably be adjusted for the better, and some of it probably couldn't have been changed,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
It goes on your response times. and all
Yeah,
that
I mean,
stuff.
there's a lot of
There's a
variables
ton
there.
of factors and
You're-
variables to it.
You're not gonna get 100% on your test every day.
Well, that's where we are. So does anyone have anything else?
Well,
We can't vote on anything till tomorrow night or till
till
Monday.
Monday, and the bond usage will be on Monday. And then two, just so you know, because of how this all fell, the budget can't be, the draft budget, which was sent to with the workshop stuff. The first reading of that can't be until the 9th of December because it has to be advertised, and then we will have to have 2 meetings in December. So it'll be the 9th and the 23rd. So just FYI on that, to keep those dates.
And everybody has to be here Monday to vote on
The bond,
Yes,
yes. Yeah, we can't pass that without 100% approval from the council.
and if Darren's the acting mayor, can he still vote?
Oh, yeah,
yes.
yeah. I'll be there. I'll just be via Zoom. I'll be up in SeaTac. We fly out early Monday or Tuesday morning. So,
So the Cheney Park, that one's 100% grant too?
The sport court.
Sport
that's
court,
RCO,
Yeah.
yeah, I believe so.
there's no matches with that?
I think there is.
I would have to ask Dennis
Can't
to be
remember
sure.
on
I
that
don't know
one.
either.
I'm getting,
Yeah.
I think them mixed up, but I thought the
Yeah.
sport court.
I thought it was like 10,000 or something, wasn't it, or 8,000?
I don't know, cause I'm thinking, am
I
I
don't
getting
know.
TIB and RCO mixed up?
Yeah,
Because
I
there's
don't
one,
know.
because of the. Something, there is a small match now, but I'm not sure if I'm getting transportation and RCO mixed up, so.
Yeah.
I mean, a person hates to deny getting any kind of improvements, but we do kind of gotta look at it. This match dollar is our dollar that we don't have right now.
Well, we've already spent money on the RCO one, that one's already gone
Uh-huh.
past the
Point
turn
of no
back.
return.
Right.
Point of-
Can't go back that direction.
No, I get it.
You know, there is another thing we're starting to get some push from, and we're pushing back a little bit, and that is the library. They're really wanting us to rent or lease another space for them in the city, and we just don't have the money to do that.
No.
Beginning of the end.
So.
Well, there is a library in Raymond,
Mhm.
and they have the.
Yeah, it's not the same when people use it
Yeah.
for working on their, computer work, people that
Yeah.
don't have, it's a safe space to go, it's a warm space to go.
I
I do,
Yeah,
I
I
understand that
understand.
too, but it's
And
not like
can't-
there's not one available.
Right.
Well, I don't know even if checking out books is the big deal anymore, because they sell closed,
Yeah.
because they don't, they didn't generate enough foot traffic.
Yeah.
But, the kids, they can't get to Raymond.
Did you see Kate O'Neill's letter to the editor?
We got public
Is that
transit
today?
system.
Yeah.
Well, not if you're 6 years
You know.
old and wanna go to the library. A lot of people use the library, a lot of people use the computers, they use it for printing.
Yeah.
It's part of a community, and once you start picking away and, sawing off
Right.
parts of your community.
No, I understand, I get it, but Timberland closed Nacelle. That,
Right,
Mhm.
because they own that one.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, I know, and they
So-
just soon close ours too.
Yeah.
They don't really care, so. But I'm just saying that, we're gonna turn around in 10 years and, what are we gonna have if we start peeling stuff off?
Well. Yeah.
And that's not even to mention what might happen in the next 4 years, Lord help us.
I don't know, I think, yeah, in libraries, it's just a different thing, even the school libraries, we had a beautiful school library when I was in school. The schools have, do not
they
have
don't use it
libraries
near
at
as
all
much.
like they used to.
No, they don't.
There, it's
Everything's
just,
went digital.
yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Anything else before we adjourn?
Oh, are we gonna be getting, monthly reports? What's really happening?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Have you done the transfers yet for October?
Mhm.
Okay, then I'll do one and we'll get it out. I had a preliminary one done, but the transfers haven't been done yet. So transfers are done, then the actual numbers are
Yeah,
in the
'cause
right places and we'll get it.
It'd be nice to know,
Yeah.
what's going
Oh,
on.
absolutely. Yeah, that's my plan, is to get one every month.
What I'm still curious about is that park and rec easement at $15,000 down there at the Lakeland Park.
That's for the restroom thing.
That
That's
was
the
that-
Rails to trail.
Now we
thing,
just
right?
paid it again and it's like 2,000. Remember, I looked it up when we got that 15,000. It was like, there was a big payment and then
Yep.
after so many years, another big payment. That's what that one was. Then we just got it. Now it was just that the norm, back to the normal to whatever. But that is the easement for those bathrooms at the end of the trail.
Crazy.
I know, we're
But
gonna have to pay it.
remember, we had questioned it last year because it was so big and I
Right.
pulled out that contract and it was like, and this year was that payment and this year was, and that was the year and I don't remember.
So it's not
now
the same
going-
every year, or?
No, after so many years, we had to pay that 15,000
Oh.
again, like, and originally when they put it in, there was a payment and then after so many years, that big payment again, which we verified, I
Right.
pulled it out, we
Right.
verified it. And then now we just got the easement part of it, which is like just under 3,000, I think.
Okay. 'Cause we're
It's probably
still
on the
listed-
claim fund for Monday.
'Cause we're still listed as 15,000, but we only roughly had a $2,000.
So it's only
Three.
$2,000.
Well, I'd have to
this
look
next week.
for this one that I just paid, so I'd have to look at the contract and
Right.
see what.
Cause I mean, that could be some numbers, I mean, it's obviously not gonna fix anything, but if we got 15,000 listed there. If we could contact somebody there to find out, in
I'd have to just pull the contract out.
2025, what's our payment actually gonna be in 2025? Is it 2,000 or is it 15,000?
Yeah, I'd have to look at the
Cause
contract.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
$13,000 more in our budget if it goes the other direction,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and I don't know, I don't
Right,
remember.
so
off
maybe
the
that'd
top
be
of my
something that
head.
we can inquire on and find out for sure.
Yeah. I'll pull
It's
that
not a
contract out.
huge drop in the bucket, but it's
Yeah.
13,000 more than we had, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and what would happen in that case is it just wouldn't be spent,
Right,
and
but it gives us a little better projection of what
Sure.
we're looking at.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, this plan that we have going forward will get us through 2025. And then we'll have to see where we go from there based on whatever happens with the levy and such.
It's gonna go one direction or the other.
Yeah. I don't, I don't know of another option. You guys put your thinking caps on and see what you can come up with.
Yeah,
If you
it's-
can
it's
come
a
up
tough
with
one.
another long range option, but for 2026, we're gonna be right back here in this same place if we don't do something. So,
So when you talk about working on this with Raymond, you're gonna have a committee put together to talk to him, or just a couple people, like you and the chief, or?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, we'll work with the Raymond Group and, then when it gets down where we actually have some kind of a document to actually, like a draft or something, we'll probably have a workshop bring it up in our meeting for everyone to look at, but it won't be done in a vacuum. But there's no sense in bringing everybody in until we actually have a document to look at. And then you can review it and say, okay, we like this, we don't like this, or whatever, you know what I mean? Right now, we have nothing.
One good
Other
thing,
than an idea,
If,
you know.
when the Alder House gets up and running, we'll have those water revenues.
That will be nice.
mhm.
Yeah, that will help.
When is that supposed to be open?
It's supposed to be December, but it's probably gonna be March. There's there's
Still quite a bit
no
to do.
maintenance, just like, the
Yeah, it was just
hospital,
left.
no maintenance. Just
Yeah.
rotten, everything was rotten.
Yeah.
Siding, decks, windows.
Okay.
It's a mess.
Yeah,
Anyway, that's the plan. As soon as we get some kind of a document put together, then we'll present it for review and
okay,
work through the process.
yeah.
Good thing we got the
So-
peace pole.
Yeah.
If you do decide that you want like a council member on that crew, I would be happy to sit in on that. I'd be curious to how that would work out in a situation with Raymond. I'm just really leery. I just,
Well, that's why we're gonna.
Yeah.
Bring it carefully.
yeah,
So how do cities generate revenue?
Businesses.
Yeah,
Businesses.
that's the biggest part is businesses, yeah, and sales taxes, it's traffic, tourism dollars,
used to have lots of timber
Um,
tax, but
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, other than that, it's all your fees, right? So your
Mhm.
permits,
That's
It'd be
right.
good to clean up
building inspections.
some of the crud around here because.
The real downfall was when we, as a people, voted to eliminate the excise taxes on the vehicles. That gutted city current expense finances,
Mhm.
so. And
Well, that
same with
was-
county and
well, that was
state,
that
you know, a
was
portion of it went
Yeah.
to cities, a
$30
portion went to
license
counties,
plates.
and a portion went to
That
state.
Yeah.
And they've been struggling ever since,
yeah.
because of and now the timber revenues have really hit the counties hard too.
Oh,
because of
yeah,
The lack
hard.
of those. So, yeah, I know, the county's worried a few years down the road where we're gonna be here as well. That they're looking at, if things align right, they've got a plan. If things align right, they're looking like they could make it. If things don't align right, they could be in trouble. You know, and I've been reading, that Capitol Buzz every day as a list of articles that comes out about, various topics in the state. And almost every day I'm reading about a city that's in trouble in their current expense fund.
Lots
Um,
of cities.
Yeah, it's pretty widespread right
Lots of
now.
cities.
People just don't have enough revenues coming in for the increased expenditures that have been happening.
Yeah. I know we
Yeah.
absolutely do not want to go with the county when it comes to police department.
No, they're too far afield. How would you like to have a call in South Bend and they're out in Ocean Park?
Well,
I mean,
they
no,
only
thank you.
designate you one officer.
That guy's a
well, we
nut
aren't
job.
gonna do
And,
that.
and that's not a
Yeah, we're
full-time
not
officer.
gonna do that. Yeah,
So, yeah, it wouldn't be good.
no.
Yeah.
Nope. So we've got a big year coming up. A lot of things to think about and consider. And,
Yeah.
just have to walk through it as best we can and,
So on the timber taxes, that's just mainly because nobody's logging in our area.
Well, a couple of the GIPOs are selling off their equipment because the prices are so low and they can't,
can't make it
they're
work.
bugging Phil to
Yeah.
do his timber and he said no, and they're selling off their equipment because they don't have any work.
They've
Yeah,
been
Roar's went out of
contacting my
business.
sister and I as well. We get people all the time that are wanting to do our stuff. Either buy our land
Yeah.
or buy our logs and whatever.
See, Wyatt, you remember when they were coming down, whatever I always call it the church road, but when the log trucks were coming down there, we collected a fee for them coming down Willapa.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of the revenue that we get from logging, but they don't come out of here anymore because it was too dangerous for them. So they'll travel wherever they gotta go to come out 2000 line or McCorkles, or they'll go that direction somewhere. They just won't come back out this way. It's just too dangerous up there in those corners.
Question on page 2 of 5,
Revenues or expenditures?
revenues. When we look at traffic infraction penalties, it shows every other year is 0. Why is that? What's going on with that one?
That's the,
So the whole,
two
you have to take
lines.
all of the court
Yeah.
together.
If you look at the next line down, Wyatt.
Okay.
You got the one, actual 2024 is 44,000,
Okay, so
budget
they alternate.
2024 was 75,000, they kind of, yeah, it's.
The way the court is set up, it's very confusing.
Mhm.
But it's all those.
So are these two essentially kind of the same thing? Is that what's happening here, or what is it?
Mhm. It's budgeted in one line and actuals coming out in
Yeah.
another,
Okay,
is what it's looking like.
so,
Yeah.
And we actually have, the court's been very behind because Lisa was out for surgery. And then,
And then,
the court system
the
itself
court
was
system.
down for the first part of, November for 2 weeks. And so she finally just finished with October, the month of October. And so that's a low
Yeah, this
reflection
is-
of what's actually come in so
Yeah.
far, because it's very delayed right now. She hasn't even started, I don't think, the November stuff.
No,
yet.
actually,
So-
there will be nothing in November. So
Oh,
we
okay.
so October will be reflected in November. November will be nothing, and December should probably be pretty big because it'll probably have
Yeah, everything's so
November,
behind.
December. Because,
Yeah.
no, I was starting off, I was just curious, cause it's like, oh, why do we not have
AOC
anything we want some years and then other years we do?
Mm-hmm.
the state court system, AOC, had a breach and shut every court down for, it's
Okay.
been since the end of October. It just came back online Monday. And it happened at the end of October. So, there was actually they did a, court order statewide, which rarely happens,
Yeah.
with courts and everything. And, so yeah, that just set everything way behind, and was able to get October done, entered, and we did. So October's revenues will be reflected in November,
Okay.
so.
I see where it is further down, where it
Mhm.
shows everything
Yeah.
in there.
Mm-hmm. All right. Are we good?
Yes, ma'am.
So Monday, we're voting on
Budget.
taking the budget,
The-
taking the HUD money out. Or the loan from the HUD.
No.
Yeah.
Monday, we're voting on
The loan for
using the
HUD.
bond.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Yeah, using
That's
the
what she
bond is what we're voting on. Is
The
that-
239.
Yeah, yeah, and that part of that is the loan and part of it is water. But we're gonna take all of that bond
Where's the water
It's just
money
under
come from? Where's the
300,000.
water money come from?
it comes out of the beginning balance, fund balance.
In here.
Fund balance, yeah.
Okay.
So what we're actually voting on is using that bond.
Mhm.
Yes, and then we aren't gonna talk about the budget stuff until the first meeting in
Meeting, that's
December, because
Oh, right.
it has to be published in the paper, which doesn't come out again until the 27th, and our meeting is on the 25th. So we can't do the first draft of the budget
So
until
the 9th.
the 9th.
And that's why we have to
December.
have 2 meetings in.
That's why we have to have 2 meetings in December. The other option is to pass the budget in one reading, but then the people don't have a chance to weigh in, after, in between meetings. We generally try and give them that 2 weeks to come back with something to say if they choose to at that second meeting. So,
We don't have much of an audience.
We
Well, it just-
don't, but just with
but-
how much we've gone back and forth with the budget and with the having to have laid somebody off. I personally would feel more comfortable having 2 readings of the budget. Just if it ever comes back under scrutiny, it would just be nice to say that it was followed exactly to the T. Is my personal opinion.
Now, we could do a Zoom meeting on the 23rd if people.
Well, there's always the Zoom
Yeah,
option, so.
Yes, and we don't have to make it, a lot of things on the agenda. It can be quick.
It can be the budget.
That can be the only thing on the agenda, and it would be the second reading. We would do public comment, second reading, go home. Yeah, it could be quick. So,
I can't think what the sirens got me buzzing. But, so the 2 cities that you talked about that merged, and you said they pay, the one city pays how much now for?
for 2024, it was 294,000.
Just wanted to,
Yeah. That doesn't mean that's what we would pay.
no,
Because we would have to work something out. With Raymond, so.
okay. All right.
Okay.
This gives me something to
All right,
mull over here.
so we will stand adjourned. Thank you, guys.
All right, there you go.
This has been the budget workshop for the city of South Bend, Washington. This meeting was held on November 20th, 2024. The next regular city council meeting will be held on November 25th, 2024.